Here are Grandma's 25 best sewing tips and hacks for beginners. Measure twice before cutting fabric. Accurate cutting begins long before you touch the scissors, and Grandma always believed this was the most important step. Start by laying your fabric flat on a clean surface and smoothing away every wrinkle or fold. Use a clear ruler or measuring tape to mark your dimensions carefully with tailor's chalk or a washable pen. Always double-check your markings before cutting, especially when working with patterned or directional fabrics. A quick remeasure can prevent wasted fabric or uneven seams later on. If your fabric is slippery, anchor it with pattern weights instead of pins to avoid shifting. Always keep the measuring tape flat and taut, never stretched, to maintain true accuracy. Review the grain lines, corners, and seam allowances before taking the first cut. Once scissors meet fabric, there's no going back. So take a moment to slow down, breathe, and confirm every measurement. Careful measuring always guarantees smoother sewing and cleaner results later. Test stitches on scrap fabric first. Did you know that even professional seamstresses test their stitches on scrap fabric before sewing the real thing? This simple habit helps prevent uneven tension, skipped stitches, or thread bunching that could ruin your final piece. Cut a small swatch of the fabric you're using, preferably with the same grain direction, and thread your machine with your chosen needle and thread. Begin by sewing a straight line to check tension, stitch length, and needle position. Adjust your settings as needed until the stitches lie flat, even, and smooth. Try any decorative or zigzag stitches you plan to use too, as fabric weight can affect how they turn out. Testing on a scrap also gives you a chance to listen for odd sounds or feel unexpected resistance in the machine. Once satisfied, proceed confidently with your real project. Keeping a few scraps near your machine saves time and stress while improving stitch quality every time. Lock stitches to prevent unraveling. Every strong seam depends on a secure start and finish, and Grandma taught that locking stitches is the secret to long-lasting results. Begin by sewing a few reverse stitches, about ½ inch, at both the beginning and end of your seam to prevent threads from loosening over time. Most machines have a reverse lever or button that makes this step quick and consistent. If you're sewing by hand, simply knot your thread firmly or backstitch over the first few stitches. This simple habit is especially crucial for garments that face regular washing or tension, like pants, hems, or pockets. Use a slightly shorter stitch length for delicate fabrics to keep the reinforcement discreet yet effective. You can also hide thread tails inside the seam using a hand needle for a tidy finish. Though it takes only seconds, locking your stitches adds years of life to your handmade projects and keeps every seam strong. Read pattern fully before sewing. Before cutting or stitching, take time to read your entire pattern from start to finish. This step helps you visualize each process and prevents confusion halfway through the project. Examine diagrams carefully and identify notches, darts, and seam lines before marking anything on fabric. Confirm whether seam allowances are included, and check all measurements against your size or adjustments. Gather materials, threads, and notions ahead of time to avoid mid-project delays. Understanding the sequence of steps ensures that pieces fit together smoothly and that you don't overlook important details like lining or interfacing. Many beginners skip this step and end up unpicking stitches or cutting incorrectly. As you read, highlight or annotate sections that require special attention. Keeping the pattern instructions nearby as you sew provides a handy reference point. Think of it as studying a roadmap. Knowing the route before you start guarantees a smoother and more enjoyable sewing journey. Use magnet to grab pins. If you've ever scattered pins across the floor, a simple magnet can save the day. A strong craft magnet or magnetic dish instantly attracts loose pins, saving time and protecting your fingers. Glide the magnet slowly over your workspace or floor and watch it collect stray pins in seconds. You can also keep one near your sewing machine to prevent pins from rolling away mid-project. Some sewists attach magnets under their tables or to pin cushions for quick organization. Be mindful to keep strong magnets away from computerized sewing machines as they can interfere with digital settings. For added convenience, make a DIY pin catcher by gluing a small magnet inside a shallow dish or attaching one to a wrist strap for hands-free pinning. You can even store needles this way between uses. It's a small, yet effective solution that turns messy cleanup into a quick, satisfying sweep every time. Match needles and threads properly. Choosing the correct needle and thread combination is essential for smooth, even stitching. Different fabrics require specific needle sizes and types. Universal needles work for most woven cottons, while ballpoint needles are best for knits, and sharp microtex needles suit delicate silks. Match the needle size to your fabric weight. Smaller numbers for lightweight materials, larger for heavier fabrics. Similarly, pair the right thread type with your fabric. Use polyester for stretch fabrics, cotton thread for natural fibers, and silk thread for fine materials. Always insert a new needle after 8 to 10 hours of sewing or if it snags the fabric. Testing on a scrap ensures your needle and thread combo produces balanced tension without puckering. Keep a labeled organizer for needles and threads nearby. It saves time and prevents mismatches when switching between projects. Start with easy cotton fabrics. For beginners, cotton is the most forgiving fabric to learn with. It's stable, easy to cut, and doesn't slip or stretch, making it perfect for practicing seams and straight stitching. Begin with medium-weight woven cottons like quilting cotton or poplin. Avoid slippery or stretchy materials until you're more confident. Pre-wash and press the fabric before cutting to prevent future shrinkage and distortion. Use a universal needle size 80/12 with all-purpose thread for best results. When sewing cotton, keep your tension moderate and stitches about 2.5 millimeters long. Press seams flat as you go for crisp edges. As you gain confidence, try small projects such as pillowcases or tote bags. They build skill quickly while giving you satisfying, usable results. Press seams while sewing. Pressing as you sew is a professional habit that makes a noticeable difference in your finished garments. Instead of waiting until the end, press each seam immediately after stitching it. This sets the stitches into the fabric and prevents puckering or distortion. Use a medium heat setting for cottons and adjust for other fabrics as needed. Always press, don't iron, by lifting and lowering the iron gently to avoid stretching the material. Press seams, open for garments, or to one side for quilts, depending on the project type. A tailor's ham helps with curved seams, and a sleeve board is ideal for small areas. Keeping an ironing board next to your sewing station makes pressing quick and convenient, ensuring your work always looks crisp and professional. Use scrap starter for delicate seams. When sewing delicate or thin fabrics, a scrap starter prevents your machine from jamming or pulling fabric into the needle plate. To use one, place a small piece of scrap fabric under the presser foot before your project fabric and begin sewing across both. The scrap helps stabilize the stitches, allowing the machine to grip evenly. Once the seam starts, carefully guide your project fabric under while stitching continuously, then trim away the starter piece later. This technique prevents tangled thread nests and ensures cleaner seam beginnings. It's especially useful for silks, chiffons, or lightweight cottons. Keep a few fabric scraps near your machine for testing tension and stitch balance before every project. Doing so can save both time and frustration. Support foot on bulky seams. Thick or layered seams, like denim hems or jacket joins, can cause your presser foot to tilt, leading to skipped stitches. To avoid this, support the presser foot level as it moves over the bulky area. Use a seam jumper or hump jumper tool behind the foot to lift it evenly, or fold a small fabric scrap to slide under the back for the same effect. Sew slowly, and if necessary, hand crank over the thickest part to maintain control. Always use a heavy-duty needle, such as a size 1/116 or denim needle, to handle the extra thickness. Check that your stitch length is slightly longer to prevent thread buildup. Lightly hammering extra thick seams flat before stitching helps reduce bulk and lets the machine glide more easily. Mark seam lines with tape. Did you know that many expert sewists use painter's tape or washi tape instead of fabric markers to mark their seam guides? This simple trick helps maintain perfectly straight lines without risking ink stains. To do it, measure your desired seam allowance, usually 1/2 inch or 5/8 inch, from the needle, and place a strip of tape along the sewing machine's throat plate. The edge of the tape acts as a clear visual guide while sewing, helping you keep fabric aligned consistently. You can even layer two colors for multiple seam widths or use high contrast tape for dark fabrics. Replace the tape regularly to avoid sticky residue. It's also handy for top stitching or quilting when you need evenly spaced parallel lines. If your project requires multiple seam allowances, keep pre-cut tape strips labeled with their measurements and store them on your machine for quick changes during projects. Pull threads before top stitching starts. Before beginning any top stitch, gently pull the upper and bobbin threads toward the back of the presser foot. This simple motion prevents tangled starts and keeps your top stitching lines clean. Hold the threads firmly for the first few stitches to help lock them in place without backstitching. If your machine has a thread cutter or auto lock feature, make sure it doesn't pull the thread ends too short. About 3 to 4 inches gives you enough control. Top stitching is often visible, so preparation matters. Use a longer stitch length, around 3 mm, and matching or decorative thread as needed. Pulling your threads first ensures the needle doesn't drag loose tails underneath the seam. Once you finish, trim both thread ends neatly on the underside for a professional look. Pressing your top stitched areas lightly helps set the stitches and flattens any raised edges beautifully. Secure pedal with non-slip mat. Grandma always believed a steady sewing foot made for steady seams, and she was right. A sliding foot pedal can disrupt your rhythm and cause uneven stitching, especially on hard floors. To fix this, place a small non-slip mat, shelf liner, or rubber pad under the pedal to anchor it in place. You can also use Velcro strips. Attach one side under the pedal and the other to the floor for added stability. Adjust the pedal cord so it doesn't pull or tangle while you sew. If your floor is carpeted, a small wooden board beneath the pedal provides a smooth surface for better control. Keeping your pedal secure not only improves accuracy, but also reduces fatigue in your foot and leg during long sessions. If you move between workstations often, store your mat with the pedal so you're always ready to sew comfortably anywhere. Rethread machine to fix tension. Uneven stitches often come from incorrect threading rather than a real tension problem. If your thread looks loose, tight, or looped on one side, start by completely rethreading both the upper thread and the bobbin. Turn off the machine. Raise the presser foot to release tension discs and gently pull the thread out. Then rethread step by step, making sure the thread passes through each guide, tension slot, and take-up lever correctly. Check that your bobbin is wound evenly and inserted in the right direction as shown in your manual. Once everything is reset, test on a scrap of the same fabric and adjust tension slightly if needed. This process solves most tension issues instantly. Cleaning the bobbin area of lint before rethreading helps the thread move smoothly and keeps your stitches balanced from start to finish. Use scrap lead for serging. When using a serger, starting directly on fabric edges can cause threads to bunch or pull unevenly. To prevent this, feed a small scrap lead piece of fabric into the serger before your actual project. Let the machine create a chain of stitches on the scrap, then slide your fabric right behind it and continue sewing seamlessly. This stabilizes the threads and ensures clean, even edges without tangling. It's especially helpful on stretchy or delicate materials that tend to slip under the presser foot. After finishing the seam, you can trim away the scrap easily. Keeping a few small fabric leads nearby makes switching between seams quick and efficient. If your serger struggles to cut through thick spots, slightly lift the presser foot and guide the fabric gently. The scrap lead will help the blades engage evenly for a professional, smooth finish. Tape fabric edges to prevent fray. Did you know that before pinking shears and sergers became common, sewists used household tape to stop fabric edges from unraveling? It's a surprisingly effective and temporary way to prevent fraying while handling raw fabric edges. To do this, apply a strip of painter's tape or masking tape along the edge of your cut fabric, pressing it gently to secure the fibers without stretching. Make sure the tape covers just enough to hold the weave together without overlapping your seam line. This trick is especially helpful for loosely woven fabrics like linen or tweed that shed threads easily. Always remove the tape carefully after stitching, pulling slowly along the fabric grain to avoid distortion. It's also great for marking cutting guides on fabrics that shift while cutting. If you're preparing several pieces at once, tape all raw edges before stacking them. Your workspace stays cleaner and your cuts stay precise. Carry a small sewing kit. Every sewist should keep a small, portable sewing kit ready for quick fixes and travel emergencies. A basic kit should include needles, small scissors, safety pins, thread in neutral colors, buttons, and a few straight pins. Store everything in a compact tin, pouch, or mini box that fits easily into your bag or glove compartment. Choose threads that match most fabrics. White, black, gray, and beige are versatile essentials. Add a needle threader and a few iron-on patches for convenience. Keep a small thimble if you frequently hand sew repairs on thick fabrics. This little kit can save you from wardrobe malfunctions or last-minute project issues. To make it even handier, wind small thread lengths onto bobbins instead of bulky spools. This keeps your kit light and tidy. Refresh your kit regularly by replacing dull needles and low thread spools, so it's always ready when you need it most. Base tricky curves before sewing. Grandma always insisted that patience and basting could turn even the hardest curves into perfect seams. Basting is a temporary, long stitch that holds curved edges in place before the final sewing. To do it, use a contrasting thread color and a long, straight stitch length, about 4 mm, either by hand or machine. Sew just inside the seam allowance so the basting can be removed easily later. For tight curves, gently clip the seam allowance to help the fabric spread smoothly as you baste. Keep the fabric flat and work slowly, adjusting as you go to avoid puckers. Once basted, press the curve lightly to set the shape before stitching permanently. Removing the basting afterward reveals a clean, professional curve. If the curve still feels uneven, rebaste with smaller sections. Shorter base lengths give you more control and help you guide delicate fabrics more precisely through the machine. Finish seams without a serger. You don't need a serger to create durable, professional-looking seam finishes. There are several methods to prevent fraying and strengthen your seams using just a regular sewing machine. The simplest option is a zigzag stitch along the raw edge, trimming excess fabric afterward for a neat look. You can also use an overcast stitch if your machine has one. It wraps the edge closely for extra security. For lightweight fabrics, a French seam works beautifully. Sew wrong sides together with a narrow seam, trim, then re-sew right sides together to enclose the raw edge completely. Another option is the flat felled seam, often used in denim, which adds durability and a polished finish. Always press each stage as you go to keep seams crisp and aligned. If you're finishing seams on sheer fabrics, use a narrow hem foot. It provides a smooth edge that resists fraying while keeping the fabric light. Sew slowly for clean precision. Many beginners believe speed equals skill, but in sewing, slowing down actually improves accuracy and results. Reducing your stitching speed gives you more control, especially when guiding tricky fabrics or sewing tight corners. Adjust your machine's speed control or simply apply lighter pressure on the pedal. Maintain even pacing while keeping your eyes on the seam guide rather than the needle. This steady rhythm helps produce consistent stitch lengths and prevents wobbly lines. When working on detailed projects like collars or hems, take extra time to pivot carefully at corners with the needle down. Slowing down also allows you to notice tension issues, fabric bunching, or skipped stitches before they become major problems. For complex patterns or matching prints, practice stitching slowly on a scrap first. It builds muscle memory and ensures smoother results once you move to your final piece. Consistency always beats speed in sewing craftsmanship. Let the machine feed fabric naturally when sewing. Resist the urge to pull or push the fabric through the machine. Instead, guide it gently and allow the feed dogs, those tiny metal teeth under the presser foot, to move the fabric at their own pace. Pulling can distort stitches, break needles, or cause uneven seams. To do this properly, keep your hands lightly on both sides of the presser foot, guiding the fabric straight without forcing it. Adjust the presser foot pressure if the material feels tight or struggles to advance. For slippery fabrics like satin, a walking foot or Teflon foot helps maintain steady movement. Always test on a scrap before starting your main project to ensure the tension and feed settings are correct. As an extra tip, align your eyes with the seam guide on your needle plate, not the needle itself. This helps you sew straighter lines every time. Keep sewing space tidy. Always a clutter-free workspace promotes smoother workflow and prevents accidents. Begin each session by clearing stray threads, fabric bits, and loose pins. Use small baskets or magnetic trays to sort notions like bobbins, buttons, and seam rippers. Designate separate areas for cutting, ironing, and stitching to maintain efficiency. If possible, install shelves or drawers for fabric storage and label each section by color or material type. Regularly, vacuum around your sewing machine to prevent dust buildup that could affect machine performance. Wipe your table surfaces with a lint-free cloth and mild cleaner to remove residue. From chalk or marker lines, for long projects, keep a small trash bin nearby to discard trimmings as you go. A clean, organized space not only saves time, but inspires creativity and precision. As an additional tip, schedule a 5-minute cleanup after every session. It keeps your workspace ready for the next masterpiece. Use fabric-only scissors always. One of the most sacred sewing rules is to reserve a special pair of scissors exclusively for fabric. Using them on paper, plastic, or thread dulls the blades quickly, leading to ragged cuts and frayed edges. Choose high-quality shears, preferably stainless steel with a comfortable grip, and store them in a designated holder or protective sleeve. Mark them clearly with a ribbon or tag that says "fabric only" to prevent accidental misuse. Keep a separate pair of craft or paper scissors nearby for pattern cutting and general tasks. To maintain their sharpness, avoid cutting over pins or zippers, which can nick the blade edges. Periodically clean the blades with a soft cloth and a drop of sewing machine oil. For an extra tip, have your scissors professionally sharpened once or twice a year. Sharp blades make cutting smoother, faster, and far more accurate. Clean and oil machine regularly. Grandma always said, "A well-loved machine lasts a lifetime." And she was right. Regular cleaning and oiling keep your sewing machine running smoothly and prevent breakdowns. Start by unplugging it, then remove the bobbin case and needle plate. Use a small brush or lint vacuum to clean out dust, lint, and thread fragments that collect around the feed dogs and bobbin area. Next, apply a few drops of sewing machine oil to the moving parts as specified in your manual. Avoid over-oiling, which can stain fabrics. Wipe away any excess with a lint-free cloth. Change needles regularly, as dull ones can damage both fabric and machine. After every 10 hours of sewing, do a quick clean, and after every major project, give it a full maintenance session. As a bonus tip, store your machine covered to protect it from dust and moisture. Pin fabrics before stitching lines before you begin sewing. Secure your fabric pieces with straight pins to ensure accurate seams. Place pins perpendicular to the seam line, about an inch apart with heads facing outward for easy removal as you stitch. For delicate or stretchy fabrics, use fine glass head pins or clips to avoid distortion and holes. Always test a few pins on scrap material to ensure they don't snag or leave marks. Keep the fabric layers flat and aligned by pinning from the center outward, especially on curved seams. When machine sewing, remove each pin right before the needle reaches it. Never sew over pins, as they can break the needle or damage the machine. For thick fabrics like denim, use sturdy quilting clips instead. As an additional tip, invest in a magnetic pin cushion. It keeps your pins organized and saves time during cleanup.